Talk Zone presents the Geek Speak Radio Show with your hosts, Henry and Romo. Your top spot for everything entertainment and pop culture, including TV, movies, comics, casting news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Henry and Romo.
And here we are. But you know what? Again, you know what didn't work?
What?
Is your dowsing or whatever you were doing over there. What scared away the last two guests?
Yeah.
Didn't work this time. Sorry.
Man.
We are going to scare you a little bit. Matter of fact, you've been there yourself. We're going to talk in just literally about seconds.
Yeah.
Heather Parkhurst, she's assistant manager at the historic National Hotel. It's in Jamestown, California. I've been asking everybody, my wife and producer Damon. Nobody knew where it was. I'd never been there. You have?
Yeah, I've been there. Jamestown is a great place. I went there for a wedding. It's it's really it feels like going back in time. It used to be a gold mining town back in the day. So Jamestown is really, really a beautiful place. So go check it out.
Well, let's go right now. Not
go.
Literally, but Heather Parkhurst is the manager at the hotel. Are you there, Heather?
Yes, I am.
There you go. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, first of all. So
No problem. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. So before we talk about the hotel, I wanted to ask you, do you believe in ghosts or had any paranormal experience before coming to the hotel?
Not before coming to the hotel.
So it all happened once you got to the hotel?
Yeah. And I've had some experiences, that I've tried to explain away. And,
okay, well, before we get to that, tell us the story of the hotel.
Okay, well, the National Hotel was built in 1859, originally as the Hotel Europe. 1859 was kind of a heyday for Jamestown. Our gold rush boom started in 1852 at Woods Creek, which is a little creek that still has a mining camp on it to this day. It's a cute little town that has been bypassed by Highway 49, the old wagon trail. So we're right next to the highway running parallel, but we get our quiet little main street as opposed to 49 running through the middle of most of these towns. So it's a great little town, great for walking. There's a lot of history, a lot of great architecture. Let's see. Jamestown itself was named after a guy that robbed the town, basically. Colonel James came to town right about 1852, and he was a lawyer from San Francisco, and he set up a tent and poured champagne for everybody and got everybody to invest money in some mining speculations that didn't turn out really well, and he took everybody's money and slipped out of town one night. And they tried to change the name to American Camp, and it just didn't stick. So we are still called Jamestown, or Jimtown for short, named after the guy that robbed us blind. So that's kind of, that's the way things went back then. Hotels and saloons were very, very popular during the gold rush era, because if you weren't your typical miner, a lot of notables came through the area, and they needed nice places to stay and to dine. And, as opposed to the tent that was pitched around back. So we kind of sprang up and got all the rich people and anybody that struck it rich with gold.
Right.
Pretty much we've been continuously operating since 1859. We were damaged by a couple fires. Nothing that ever actually burned the whole building. We were damaged by a fire in 1901, and at that point they started, redoing the building, securing it against fire with cement and brick, as opposed to the old wooden structure.
Right. Now, back in the 1800s, there was no reports of any paranormal activity at the hotel, was there?
No, not at the time. Not at the time. And it's my personal belief over the years that almost all these old buildings, have something in them, because you had a place where life just sprang forth. We ended up within a few years of Jamestown being founded, we had 17,000 people here in one small area, and people were living it up. There was a lot of life and a lot of tragedy, and people came with big dreams and often lost everything. So, I think something about that, you know, leaves an impression in an area and a building. And you hear a lot of ghost stories about, you know, just about every building on the block. But I don't think it was happening at the time in the 1800s. It's after the fact. You know, I don't have real big theories because, as I mentioned, I didn't believe in any kind of ghost or paranormal activity before working here. And I've now been here over 13 years, and I've had so much happen that I just cannot explain away that, you know, it's got to be a ghost.
Right. We're talking to Heather Parkhurst. She's the assistant manager at the National Hotel, and the links are on our website, geekspeakradioshow.com. I have actually been on there, and I was reading through the history and the ghost stories that have been happening there. I also noticed that there was a major restoration back in 1974. What exactly what changes were made in that restoration?
Well, in the early 70s, it started in the 60s, after the gold mines started failing and shutting down, the price of gold had decreased so much that it was no longer viable to do these large mining operations. Well, the town sort of dried up. There wasn't anybody interested in restoring the older towns. It was all about, you know, it was the day of freeways and starting with subdivisions and those kind of things. Nobody was interested in restoring old towns. My boss purchased the place in 1974 with his brother. And, you know, it was still operating, but it had fallen into some ruin. The balcony had fallen into disrepair, and only the bottom portion was left. And it needed a lot of work. These old buildings take a lot of work. So starting in 1974, they slowly but surely started remodeling. They took old photographs of the National Hotel and reproduced the redwood balcony. We still had our original bar and still do, a beautiful redwood bar that you find great redwood bars all throughout the gold country because money was about showing money at the time. And so they put a lot into the architecture and the design, and we still had that going for us. It just needed a lot of restoration. And it's been a labor of love, you know, even during my years here. So we were lucky to get the owner. About 15 years ago, he remodeled enough so that everybody has a private bath upstairs. Modern plumbing was put in. You know, it's taken money and time, a little bit at a time, starting in 1974. I was told that half the buildings in Jamestown were boarded up at the time in the 70s. Little tumbleweeds blowing down the street, you know, because there wasn't much in the way of industry. The railroad was about all we had, and logging, and that certainly didn't bring much money into the county, and we had no tourist trade. There were no street lights anywhere in the county. You know? It was one of those kind of places. And, you know, it started a trend, and a trend that, thank goodness, has carried on into a lot of historic communities and towns where, over the years, people have decided that these towns are worth saving, that you can take the money that is required to put into these old buildings to keep them in the shape that they need to be, and restoration, not knocking them down and building McDonald's, but, you know, preserving the history that California has. So that's been wonderful, you know, to be a part of that. And, you know, we have such a cute little main street now where everything's been restored. And, you know, it is like I when I got on the radio here, I heard someone, I'm not sure who's saying, you know, it's like walking back in time. And that's exactly what it's like. Just a step back in time. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of that.
The Geek Speak Radio Show will be right back.
Calling all fanboys, it's time to get back to the Geek Speak Radio Show on TalkZone.com with your hosts, Henry and Romo.
And we're back on the Geek Speak Radio Show. Had a little technical issue there. But we're talking to Heather Parkhurst. She's the assistant manager at the National Hotel in Jamestown. Heather, you there?
Yes, I am.
There you are. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So I was saying that was actually my co-host who's actually been to. He hasn't been to the hotel, but he's been to Jamestown. He's the one that was talking about how what were you saying, Romo?
It's a really, really cool town, especially in mining. It feels like, you know, Like you went back to 1774, right when the gold rush was happening, and it's a beautiful city or town.
Why, thank you. We're very proud. And that would be 1849.
Right.
Not 1774, but...
Yeah, I think he said actually 1974. That's around my time, actually. Yeah, the 18 is when you mean, Romo.
Yeah.
But let's get into the hotel itself now. When were the first reports of paranormal activity in the hotel?
Well, I don't know about previous owners, but when my boss took over in 1974, he started experiencing things right away during the restoration process. You know, tools going missing, strange things happening, things moving, reports of, you know, a woman crying upstairs, and then often a woman laughing, and petite-sounding footsteps running up and down the hall, and things like that. And that started right away when they started the restoration.
When they were thinking of buying the hotel, were they told that, you know, hey, this comes with a ghost, by the way?
Nope. They didn't know a thing about ghosts, nor did they really believe, you know.
Yeah.
Not at all. You know, one of the partners, my boss's brother, was a lawyer in San Francisco. And, you know, he didn't know anything about it, nor did he really believe. And even though he was part owner, it was my boss, his younger brother, Stephen Willie. Some of the same lawyer training, you know. And you know what? Ghosting wasn't really a big deal in the 70s as it is now. It seems to be very, very popular. There are TV shows about it, people doing research. We have paranormal groups come here all the time, booking out the whole hotel, you know, looking for ghosts, finding them, photographing orbs and things like that. But, you know, from what my boss has mentioned, nobody really cared that much in the 70s. And they laughed about it and explained it away. And it wasn't until much later that Steve had to accept that something was going on and it must be a ghost. And that's when he really launched into finding out who might have died here and who that ghost would be.
All right, perfect segue into what is the story of the ghost there?
Well, our ghost, her name was Flora, from what we know. And this is gathered from, you know, we have a great collection in Sonora, an archive of our newspaper, which has been around since the late 1800s. And so you can actually get some research done on these things. So he talked to the archivist, and he did some research, and he did eventually find a story, little bits and pieces that we were able to put together of a young woman who came from the East Coast on a train. Her name was Flora. She left her entire family behind and was set to marry sort of secretly. Her family didn't approve. She was going to marry this gentleman, and he was on his way out to, I believe, work for the railroad. And she made it to the National, where she was supposed to meet him, and they met up. And before they were able to get married, he was killed accidentally. You know, there were some drunk folks in the street. He was coming in the entryway of the hotel to head upstairs, and he was killed by a stray gunshot. And he died right there at the bottom of the stairs at the front door. And we call her Flo for short, but her name was Flora. That's the one major incident that happened at the National Hotel. So that's why we figure it is Flora. And you know, it ripped her heart out. She had nothing to go back to. You know, she'd left her family behind, and they were not going to accept her back. And this new life that she had thought she was going to have was never going to happen. And so she retired to her room, basically, and, you know, was heard crying for a couple weeks, just completely grief-stricken. And she was seen wearing her wedding dress in the hotel, you know, the one that she was never going to get to wear. And one day, the housekeeper came in, and she had passed away in a chair in front of the window in the front of the hotel. And they say, you know, there wasn't much in the way of autopsies, but they say she died of a broken heart. It happened within a couple weeks.
Yeah, I can imagine that happening when you go through that, something like that.
Yeah, and it just, you know, I kind of look at it from her perspective. That was it. She'd left everything behind, and She had nothing else to look forward to. Women couldn't go out and get jobs at the time to support themselves, and we didn't have a lot of things around here for women anyway besides prostitution, which was really big in Jamestown, of course.
Yeah, because it was legalized back then too, right?
It was, yeah. And we, we had prostitution here, and then we also had a red light district that still exists just down the street. There's some row houses in our red light district that now house legitimate businesses. Yeah, and I was reading also on the website, which, by the way, is on geekspeakradioshow.com. If you guys want to go there and look at the hotel and read it, there are, by the way, we were talking about the restoration earlier. There are some before and after pictures on the website. But also, I was reading, Flo is considered more of a playful ghost than a scary one, right? Yeah, definitely. and all of my experiences with Flo have been of the playful sort. And I just consider her a lot of fun to work with. It took me a long time to accept that there was something going on here, but she made her presence known to me right away. And I've had less experiences myself over the years, but being here this long, I've dealt with so many guests and so many employees and seen so many strange things that what else could it be? Yeah. But I have rooms in the back of the hotel where she locks people in the room with a privacy lock that only management has a key. It's sort of a AAA requirement. They have to have the ability to lock the door from the inside. And so there really isn't a need for anyone here to have a key because you can't get out of the room without unlocking that deadbolt. But I have a key and the owner has a key. And I often get people coming downstairs saying, I've been locked out of my room. And sure enough, it's the deadbolt on the door, and I have to get out my special secret key and let them back into their room. And just a couple weeks ago, I had a guest call on a cell phone downstairs saying, we're all locked in the room with the deadbolt turned, and they couldn't get it open. And that deadbolt has been replaced a number of times over the years. And it's, they were locked in the room. I had to come up with my key and let them out of the room. And I examined the lock myself. It's not loose. It's not stiff. It's just a standard deadbolt. We shouldn't have any problem. I had maintenance look at it after that. Shouldn't be any problem at all. I think Flo's just showing you that she has new tricks, not just the old ones. And she likes the guys. I hear this same story from so many different people, and it seems to be the women believe more than the men do. So the guy comes downstairs for breakfast in the morning. He says, oh, my God, I had a Flo experience. You wouldn't believe it. I was cold last night, kind of shivering, and all of a sudden the blanket came up over my arm and covered me up and kind of tucked me in. And I thought, well, how sweet of my wife. She knew I was cold and covered me. And then he hears his wife snoring. And that's a Flo thing. Yeah. And then, you hear laughter and giggling. You still hear some crying. And what I figure is, over the years, she has her issues, but she's made this her home, so she's having fun with it. I'm going to take a little break right now. Before I do, let me ask you, Heather, what experiences did you feel when you first got to the hotel? It used to be my duty to come upstairs when we were slow in the winter and turn on all the lights in the hotel. And Flo would follow me back down the stairs in the morning. She gets bored when there aren't very many people here, I guess. And she would pass right through me and give me this roller coaster feeling all through my body that was really disconcerting. It was only scary because I wasn't used to it. But really, as I got used to it, it was just kind of funny. And so that was a big one in the beginning. She let me know, that she was here. She likes to send things flying. We have things that fly off shelves and crash, and the locking of the door, the unscrewing of light bulbs everywhere in the hotel, dumping people's luggage. She never, ever, ever lets anybody, do anything that would damage the National Hotel's reputation. She was sending food our chef was going to make some crab cakes last weekend, and he opened up the cans and they went flying out of his hands. And when he went to go clean them up, he realized that the crab meat was bad. On that same day, she was in full form that day, and was sending bread baskets flying, hitting the wall, 3 feet away.
Yeah. Now, when we started the interview, you said you yourself, you didn't believe in this stuff. What did you think it was when you first felt it?
Well, the feeling I got going down the stairs was kind of weird. And I thought, well, what could that be? I really couldn't explain that one. And then I started in with the locking doors, and I'm thinking, well, it's got to be perhaps the lock falls into place or something like that. And over the years, watching those locks be replaced, knowing there's no vibrations, and that there's no explanation for it. The unscrewing of light bulbs, it's not anybody playing tricks on me, because I've changed over staff over the past, 13, 14 years. I have to get on a ladder sometimes to screw these light bulbs back in. There are different kinds of light fixtures and different kinds of bulbs, because I could believe that maybe some vibration in the building would unscrew a light bulb just enough so that the light goes out, but not in multiple light fixtures all over the hotel for 13 years. I had a hard time believing that one. So I get calls that there's a light out, and the first thing I do is go and screw the light bulb back in, because 9 times out of 10, that's what it is.
And again, we're talking to Heather Parkhurst. She's the assistant manager at the National Hotel. I'm going to take a little break, like I said. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation, talk more about Flow and about an event, Halloween event that happens at the hotel. So stay right there. Don't go anywhere. Romo, I know you get scared, but don't go anywhere. Stay right there.
The Geek Speak Radio Show will be right back.
Back to the Geek Speak Radio Show.
One of the most important things in your life.
On TalkZone.com.
Let's take a walk on the wild side.
Here's Henry and Romo.
And here we are. Welcome back to the Geek Speak Radio Show, talking to Heather we'll continue the conversation about Flow. So, Heather, you there?
Yes, I am.
There you are. A couple more stories about Flow. I was also read on the email that I got first, said that there were some new events that happened, the paranormal events that happened just this past weekend. What was that all about?
Yeah, one of those was the crab meat incident, which the chef would have caught. But because she's not downstairs here in the restaurant as much as she is upstairs, but she gets bored sometimes and comes to visit us, and she was just apparently in a great mood. But he was about to put some crab meat in a batch for crab cakes that wasn't good, and it just went flying. The first can shot out of his hand, and he thought, well, that's really, really weird. I know I didn't drop that. It's 4 or 5 feet away from me, and and then he went and picked up the second can, and the same thing happened. It went shooting out of his hand, and it was just very strange. He went to clean it up, and it was bad crab meat. And then one of the other things, about an hour after that, she had sent our bread baskets flying. A stack of bread baskets hit the wall. It's something that she likes to send things flying against the wall. That's one of the things she does. Now, they're never heavy or damaging. These were bread baskets. If they had fallen, they would have fallen within a foot of where they were placed. Or they could have bounced a little farther, but it was actually witnessed by one of our servers. She was making coffee just a few feet away, looked over that direction, and saw them. They started to tip, and then they went over about 4 feet. And hit the wall. And without force behind it, it really couldn't have happened. A bread basket can fall, but it shouldn't shoot 4 feet across the room and hit the wall.
Right.
And
like I mentioned a few minutes ago, Flo's considered more of a playful ghost, but has there ever been what would be considered a scary encounter with her?
Not really. The scariest thing for me was that odd feeling coming down the stairs. But no, I wouldn't say that it's particularly scary. People are scared sometimes by it, just because when you are faced with anything, that's a new experience like that you can't explain, it'll put goosebumps on your arms. It's disconcerting. But it's harmless pranks. When you walk into a heated room and feel that cold blast of air, you're going, oh no, something's not right. And all of our rooms contain journals journals that go back to the 1980s, where people have been able to talk about flow and flow stories, and in general about their stay. But you find it peppered with a lot of ghost stories that people have written down. And so that's a lot of fun for any guest, because their room has 4 or 5 journals in it going back to the 80s and 90s. And that's a lot of fun. And we get, people don't always come here because they know anything at all about the ghost. I mean, that's only been in recent years. And so I've had lots and lots of people who have absolutely no belief in the paranormal at all coming downstairs in the morning, saying, whoa, I had something happen. And I've had 1 or 2 people over the years that have left immediately. Wow. They just couldn't handle it, and they left.
Wow.
But in general, it's nothing scary is really happening. I've heard places, other places where the ghost may push people on the stairs, that kind of a thing. She doesn't do anything, like that. It's just playful, fun stuff. Scary, yes, but playful, fun stuff, And it's so often the people that don't know anything about the ghost that she's going to spend the time with. I've had people that have waited up for her at night, and she doesn't show, And we've had a lot of photographs over the years with these orbs in them, still photos. But we installed a video camera system last year, a security system throughout the hotel, and we have caught some crazy stuff on it. Little orbs flying through the room, and I'll be at the main terminal in the back, and I'll send somebody out, go tell me if you see any light reflecting off something, or can you see that out there? And, you go out there, and there's nothing there, but I can see it on my end, on the video system. And then oftentimes we're not here, you just catch it in the recording, because it's set up to record. So now we're doing orbs and strange shadows, just weird stuff. But it's pretty cool. It's new for me, to have a video system up there catching that. But it's happening.
Yeah, it sounds cool. Well, Heather, I wanted to know, it's Romo, has any other ghost hunter found other ghosts inside the National Hotel besides Flo?
Yes. Actually, yes. And, we only have their word for it. We weren't able to find any history. But, I'd say 12 years ago, we had the Nancy Bradley ghost hunters who came here and said that they found 2 other ghosts besides Flo. One was a priest down in our bar area, and the other one was a ghost named George, they said. They said it was actually, they videotaped me going up and down the stairs several times, and they said it was George that was following me down the stairs. And George was an older gentleman during the height of the gold rush. He stayed here at the National as a regular boarder, and he had a huge drinking problem, so he often just, passed out downstairs and was carried up. And he had a soft spot for the ladies. He, he was a bit of a womanizer, and and they said, I'm an attractive young lady. So they said that was the reason why he was following me around, because he thought I was cute and was hanging out with me, I guess. So that was kind of interesting for me.
See, I would really take it as a compliment, because when somebody from the other world tells you, then it's true.
Yeah, it's good,
Yeah.
But that was fun. But I wish we could find some history on that. But as of yet, we've not been able to. So I have their word on that. But no one else is.
Are both of them as active as Flo is in the hotel?
If that's the case, if there's other ghosts, well, then we would have to start differentiating flow activity amongst them, and we don't do that right now because, like I said, we have no proof that there's a priest here or a guy named George, besides their opinion. If they're here, that's great, and I invite any ghost hunters out there to come on down and let me know. I would love to know. And I'd love multiple opinions and find out what else is going on here. Like I said, it's become very popular for people to do the ghost hunting thing. And so we've had a lot of paranormal folks come and stay, groups of them, and then, smaller groups, just 4 people. And and they find activity, but they're not telling me. I haven't had any psychics come out and tell me besides that group 12 years ago. No psychic saying, well, this is George or this is whoever. Just there is some activity here, this is a hot spot over here, and here's the orbs we're catching, and here's the strange light going through you when you're going up and down the stairs, that kind of a thing. But they're not telling me any names. So anybody out there who can come and tell me what's going on, please do.
Yeah, and it is that time of year.
Yeah, it is.
What's going on there for Halloween at the hotel?
Well, we do murder mysteries in the winter usually, and they're weekend-long ones. They're a blast. We work with the same theater company. They're all experienced folks that we do a lot of live theater up here in Tuolumne County. And in their off-season, they come and put on murder mysteries for us. But this year, we're doing a one-night murder mystery, so you don't have to stay the night. We thought, that would be a little more fun for people for Halloween. So it's kind of like dinner theater. They always throw a huge amount of comedy in it. They're all so very talented and fun to be around. And I think, what's going to happen is we're going to do it this year. We're getting pretty close to full. It's been real easy, to book it. And so we got a little room left. And we're probably going to end up doing this one every year from here on out.
This is only on Halloween night?
Well, it's actually going to be Friday, October 29th.
Okay.
So that you still have, some of us have kids we need to take trick-or-treating on Halloween night. So we're going to do it Friday, October 29th. And, it starts right around 6 p.m. so people have time to, all of our locals and such have time to come home from work, get freshened up, and come on down here. This year's theme is Spirits of the National Hotel. We have, the main guy is Danny Diamond, a private detective. And I can't tell you all of the story, but there'll be a seance provided. I don't know what the ghosts are going to say or what they're going to do, but it's going to be a lot of fun. People are going to come dressed in costumes. It'll be a costume party. And, they never actually let me know what the storyline is. And I think it's more fun that way.
Yeah.
I can say that they do an amazing job, and it is so entertaining. Scary but funny and really enjoyable. And it's I don't want to know what's going to happen. I don't want to know who killed who. And so for the one nighter, you come, you start dinner. Things are going on around you. These actors are part of the guests. It's hard to tell if they're actors or guests themselves, and everybody gets dressed up in costume. They do a seance. Somebody, of course, dies. The weekend ones involve more deaths, and there's a lot more involved, and you go through town searching for clues. So I would, if anybody's interested in that kind of thing, sign up for our newsletter on the website or join us on Facebook, of course. Everybody's got a Facebook now, and we let you know when those dates are coming up if you like the weekend ones better. But definitely, I think we're going to be doing this one-nighter every year from here on out.
Is the link to the Facebook, is that on the hotel website?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, and the website is linked up to ours, geekspeakradioshow.com. So if you guys want to go on there it is.
Yeah. Come like us on Facebook. I hear that on commercials all the time now. Yeah.
Yeah. So before I let you go, Heather, I'm going to ask you, what does Halloween mean to you?
What does Halloween mean to me personally?
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm asking that is because you are part of the Spirit of Halloween interview series that we're doing, and basically it means that we're trying to bring back, like I said, the spirit of Halloween. It gets commercialized a lot today. It's all about, who buys the best costumes, things like that. This is about what Halloween really means to us. Being scared is part of it. That's fun, of course, but what does Halloween mean to everybody? That's why I'm asking you that.
Well, I was sort of a history buff. Anthropology and ancient cultural history and things like that. So I'm more of a believer in the All Hallows Eve theory and, the night that the dead walk the earth and that the veil between the two places is the thinnest. I, of course, dress my kids up in Halloween costumes and go trick-or-treating, too. But, the commercialization, I think, it all started with making fun of scary things to make us all feel safer and better. And So yeah, I think that surprising that I didn't believe in ghosts before this, but
you do now.
More of historical reasons behind why we celebrate this particular holiday this time of year.
Heather Parkhurst is the assistant manager at the historic National Hotel in Jamestown, California. If you guys want to go there, link is on geekspeakradioshow.com. Heather, thanks a lot for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
No problem, and have a happy Halloween.
You as well. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. So, there you go. Where did you stay, actually, when you went there?
I was trying to think right now. Did I stay at that place, at the National Hotel? I ended up spending the night at a hotel. I'm not sure if it was that, but
probably not, because from what Heather told us, I think that Flo likes to not attack, but appear to people who are doubters. Kind of like you.
Yeah, so I didn't have anything like that. Hey, Henry, do you want to go to the National Hotel and do some ghost hunting there? You should take a trip over there.
I don't know. See, because, again, I do believe in ghosts. I've experienced them, so she may not appear to me.
No, I just think I want to go to Jamestown. I want to go back up there, and I want to do some EVP reporting. I want to
tell you what,
do some ghost
deal.
hunting there.
We can go.
All right.
But we get our own rooms. Not because I don't want to be in the same room with you, but because if Flo does sense that there's a believer in there, she might not come out. But if she knows that she senses your fear,
I want to be leaving the first time I see her, going to a hotel somewhere else.
Well, Heather did say that does happen. Guests do experience something and boom, they're out of there.
Right. I'd be like Scooby-Doo running out the door.
With the big eyes, like my daughter would say. Scooby-Doo has the big eyes.
Yeah. But I think it'd be awesome. That was a great interview.
So the historic National Hotel, again, in Jamestown, California. The links are on geekspeakradioshow.com. Got a few moments to go. Going to take another break. When we come back, we'll wrap up again. We'll talk more geek talk about some of the stories that have broken today. Still haven't gotten confirmation on the Spider-Man villain, whether it's a yes or a no.
Yeah.
But I'll check the email while we take the break, and then we'll come back, wrap it up, and I'll tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, right?
Yeah, tomorrow is Friday.
Yeah, I've been confused. But I'll tell you what happens, and we'll talk some more in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
The Geek